Greetings. So we are approaching carnival season. Aside from that, there are beings who have been asking me about, the International Indigenous Court of Justice right in the Caribbean, which is where I am here. So what I am doing is that I would need the assistance of a being who is able to assist me with an estimate, to give me an estimate of what it would cost to have the roofing done and other renovations. All right. So on the other side is where I said I would be operating in my own office space, and the roof as well need to, have some bit of adjustments and so on. So previously, a week or something, or more than a week ago, I spoke out, in my aggression, I spoke out, right? And the aggression has been because of the trigger of provocation. Provocation, I refer to, is where poor services has been the forefront of what many has been serving, or people of the nation. All right? Poor services in the form of intentional negligence. So there are beings working in spaces that are of high demand in services. So you are in a space working where customer services of high demand, and you are operating in your own time and however you feel. It is not correct, because what it does is it infringes on the rights of the people, the nation. It has nothing to do with whomsoever votes or not as a gateway ticket to decide, well, okay, I would assist you because you vote for me. And even if people vote for you all, talking about the parties and agenda here, so I'm not targeting any group specifically with this statement. Even if there are beings who vote, the house still is not properly furnished. They still need many things to get done, and the whole excuse and notion is saying that beings are lazy, they don't want to work, this, that, and the other. That is an incorrect statement, because if we really truthfully study the socioeconomical diversity and what actually triggers the poverty in a nation, it would begin at the broken-minded mindsets of leadership. Broken-minded mindsets of leadership is what actually trickles down into the whole scope of the nation. All right, so because you water what is fertile with infertility. I came out of the primordial waters, the root source of my origin as Atlantean goddess, as Lemurian goddess. All right, so when I see that watermark on the waters, on the ocean, I am Asherah Elohim. There are things that are divinely given to beings on the landmass of earth through our ancestral wealth and identity. There are things that are passed on divinely for specific purposes. And the stubbornness of a being, of a people, to refuse to understand the importance of certain sacred identity and wealth is crazy, and it reduces the lifespan of what is healthy for us. All right, so when I speak as the foundation people, the primordial, so where my roots came from, the primordial waters, I came onto a fertile land. So to live here amongst people and actually observe the infertility that has been even served to me as well too, as Highest Imperial Majesty, it is a great disrespect. So I would open my mouth and speak about it, especially if it has been years and years and years of observing and remaining calm and, just gracefully continuing to build on my own, regardless of who chooses to aid me or not. I have not got any assistance from any being in the political governmental spaces. Anything that I have got in the form of a stipend has been because of my services given. All right, so when I speak on the compensation that is owed to me, it is what has been infringed as my intellectual property, my intelligence, my ancestral identity, my DNA coding, the way of how my energy vibrates is being replicated and harvested for $0.00. So don't even bother to ask me what service I gave. I would ask you in turn, who gave you the permission to copy and replicate who I am as your own, your own platform, and still have the audacity to block and prevent growth from rising above the the surface, all right? You still choose to intentionally block youth from growing. And then you would say the youth are lazy. This is an experience not only in myself, where we would have beings, you know, they are willing. They would submit applications for grants and these things within the programs. They would submit these things in the form of a business plan, you know, and then, you know, what happens, not everybody will be successful. However, what then happens to that, you know, that intelligence that being offered? It may be replicated and copy and pasted, and someone else takes your intellectual property, your ancestral identity, because it's from your DNA and your remembering, you are able to create something into the physical realm, which is what we refer to as matter. Matter is mother. I explained it with my equation of balanced prosperity as well as the blueprint of life. E equals mc squared equals to 3 equals to 1 equals to 0, as in the omniscient grace in who we are. All right, so my Kundalini royals, who are the Amaru-Khans, Amaru-Khan as the American Indians. So American Indians have been the foundation, and no disrespect to any being coming from other landmass. It is to correct and have the truth mentioned, misclassifying us as well as peer pressuring us and telling us that this is who you are, when we truthfully tell you that this is who I am, is a disrespect as well too. I call out all cultural inappropriation as well. There have been many things that have been gained as the prime initiative of the primordial indigenous peoples, and what they do, they take our intellectual properties and recycle it as theirs, as if they were the ones who actually introduced it. You need to stop it now, because here is what the indigenous peoples are: peoples who will continue to be respected, will continue to be, you know, treated differently. The constitution that was formulated after the slave trade is not the constitution that actually protects the indigenous peoples. We have been here before any bit of colonization. My ancestors have been here, and the royals who have been, as in, you know, George Rainbow, my great-grandfather George, my great-grandmother Queen Elizabeth, my aunt as well, Queen Charlotte, as in the royal house of Tudor, Windsor, Bathsheba, Solomon, as well as, you know, coming from Europa. Europa is Europe and Eurasia. Simmons, Europa Simmons. But Solomon is the first king of Tartaria as well. Tartaria has been the old age, and Tartaria has been the old world, meaning it was there before the mud flood. After the mud flood, the new world now is identified as the Americas, as we are the fertile land. All right, I'm not disregarding any other land mass. However, that is how it is. All right, when it comes to not just geopolitics, but the actual truth. The actual truth. So here I am speaking against those who likes to pretend to ignore the intelligence of others just to steal your work as theirs, to make money off of your intelligence. That is a crime, a criminal offense. It is also fraud and embezzlement when you are here harvesting the energy of my indigenous peoples as well as our indigenous estate resources without our consent and permission. Just because you are an incorporated body entity in the form of a corporate government, it does not mean that you are the one controlling everything. There is a hierarchy, and the hierarchy is the hieroglyphics. The hieroglyphics is the glyphics of Tartaria. The matriarch is the monarch. Everything comes from mother. And what we know as primordial indigenous beings is that we honor the mother and the elements accordingly. So we need to return the crown chakras at our crowns here and remove it from the base of our feet. We need to reverse ourselves from operating upside down. All right, open the lockets of our brains to comprehend what is going on. All right, this is Ternicka, Simmons, Solomon, Adams, Mahabal, Rainbow, also known as Shastra, Trinity, highest imperial majesty. It is